Hey guys, Tyler Pyle here. I wanted to come to you and talk about my book, Bone Runes. What is Bone Runes? Bone Runes is Percy Jackson meets Harry Potter without the controversy. It is about a young boy who's thrown into a school of magic, but doesn't show signs that he has magic, and it leads to a mystery that is slowly unraveling throughout the journey. And it is the first of what will be six, and I have been doing so many events talking about this book. I've met some great people. I got to meet a lot of you, and I'm so excited for what's upcoming in the upcoming year and book two. With that said, though, with all the marketing me and my beautiful wife have been doing, I wanted to expand on that with the upcoming announcement, the teaser trailer I posted with the audiobook. I wanted to expand on that and go into the actual questions, the nitty gritty, and talk to the man, the myth, the legend himself who created the audiobook and did all the voices, Zach. Zach, I'm so happy for you to be here and joining me as we go into these questions and go in depth with what we have on the plate. And I just want to say, is there anything you want to say before we get going?
No, thank you so much for wanting to do this. This is such a great idea. I would love to see more young authors, more new authors, and more new audiobook narrators kind of do this together because we are in this together. It is an industry where
Yeah.
we exist for each other, and it kind of is a neat idea. And so when you pitched this to me a couple weeks ago, I thought it was a great idea. And I loved the joy and the energy that you brought to the pitch and said, "Hey, let's make a podcast. Let's make a video of us and figure out how to make it work and to help for the marketing of the book, which obviously we want to have this book reach as many people as possible." So I thought, I said,
Yeah.
absolutely, that's absolutely great. I can't wait to do this.
Yeah, no, it was a lot of fun. And when I heard Zach's audition, it was an instant. Oh yeah, that's my narrator. It took me no time. I was at a convention when I heard your audition, and I leaned into my wife and I went, "Hey, I found the narrator. Like this is perfect." And so I knew I had contacted Zach after that. We had a phone call because I had told him I was like, "Hey, I'm in this long run. If you're willing to go the long run with me." Because I do not like perfect voice, perfect everything that I had hoped for. So I'm very excited to do this, and I figured we'll jump right into the questions if you're okay with that.
Absolutely.
Um,
What do you got?
the first question is very much a you question, and is what inspired you to really become a narrator?
So that's going to be a fun part. 4 or 5 years ago now, 4 years ago now, a buddy of mine had been doing voice acting for a few years on his own. And voice acting as a whole is a larger umbrella, right? Who doesn't
Yeah,
love animation as a whole? Because American animation has been a pillar in that community since the 90s and plus, right? And even before, we have Tom and Jerry, the original animations, and the hand drawing and everything else. When the idea finally settled in my skull, my very, very thick skull, that I could also do that, that is something that I could also be a part of. If it wasn't for my friend Zach, of course, there's another Zach, I wouldn't have kind of gotten into the world. I wouldn't have started taking classes and seminars and workouts, as we call them, with different voice actors, with different people that are also interested in doing this. And as I started taking these character classes, as I started working with these really amazing, wonderful people, there are so many incredibly kind and positive and optimistic voice actors out there that are at my level, that are there's not really anybody below me at this point because I'm still so as new as it comes, but so many people of every different level that are super open and supportive and kind and wanting all of us to succeed, wanting all of us to do well. So that it really kind of drug me in. And it kind of evolved from there for me. I've been listening to audiobooks as a reader since Harry Potter on cassette, right? Going to and from school as a elementary, middle school kid, listening on cassette and then CD. And then from there, when I started reading again in high school, because that's what it kind of changed for me, I started listening to Eragon right, from Christopher Paolini, and I think it's Tim Gerard Reynolds who reads that. Um, and then discovering Sanderson and the Mistborn trilogy and Warbreaker and Elantris, and then evolving that even further to finding the original, like, books 1 through 5 of Dresden Files by Jim Butcher, read by the absolutely insane James Marsters. For those of you who don't know who that is, James Marsters is the gentleman who plays Spike on Buffy the Vampire Slayer. He's also the narrator for these books. I've had the pleasure of meeting with him. I've had the pleasure of getting to ask him some questions from narrator to narrator. Wild, wild thing. So with me doing all these character voices and taking all these character classes, and also being such a huge fan of audiobooks and loving the genre and loving the media and the platform, I said, why am I not doing this? Why am I not going to do that part of this world when it brings me so much joy? Maybe I could bring joy to others. Maybe I could do a good enough performance, getting out of the imposter syndrome's way, getting out of all that kind of fun stuff. But I'm going to try this. I'm going to do this. And so I did. And then I was lucky enough to have a couple of really fun auditions come up across my website that I use. And Tyler's is one of them. And I went ahead and auditioned for it. And it just felt natural. It felt right. And here we are today with the book very soon on the way, we're being told by Amazon. Hopefully that'll be finished processing here in a little bit, and we can go ahead and drop links in the YouTube video when we finally get everything up and running.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, here's hoping. No, that's awesome. I feel like a lot of people see the books and they forget about there's the whole narrator aspect, which takes a whole nother level. Um, I, following up on that, so you say you're new to this, but out from where you started to where you are now, what are some of the things you wish you knew when you started versus what you know now?
That's a really good question. The learning arc that I went through from this book is actually only my third book that I've ever narrated professionally. The first 2 books were such an insane learning experience for me that I don't even know if I can adequately put it into words. Learning about, I have my booth set up in my office upstairs. I have sound dampening, this, that, the other. I've got foam, I've got blankets, I've got all the things that you need to have a treated space. And that's maybe the first step of 25. It's more than just having the equipment. It's more than just reading the book. It's more than just going through the motions of, okay, cool, I'm narrating at this pace, or I'm reading for this character. I'm breathy when I speak. I take short breaths. I don't breathe appropriately. And that's something that I'm learning to train myself out of. One of the number one pieces of information that I would give to my younger self and or anybody who's just starting a narration specifically: take time to train your diaphragm. Take acting classes. Take improv classes. Or go do improv at your local theater. Please go support your local theaters. And learn how to control that aspect that is the main point, that is the main tool that you have as an actor. It's your throat, your voice, and your ability to supply it with power, energy, and effort through your diaphragm. That is the number one thing that I could say is crucial for an audiobook narrator, especially. Because you have people that, I'll use Travis Baldry. He's one of my favorite narrators. He has an editor but I don't know how they've worked it out. I don't know what they have it on. He never has a breath in any of his audiobooks, if you listen closely. It's always just straight dialogue, straight audio, not a single breath. But then you have these other narrators, James Marsters, for one. Heath Miller, the narrator for He Who Fights with Monsters, Downtown Druid, a few other series as well. A Werewolf System, I think is what it's called. His breaths are in the books that he reads. There is no right or wrong way to do it, but learning when it's appropriate, how it's appropriate, to make sure that your breaths are sounding natural, not taking too many breaths if you're going to leave them into the... It's such a wide variety of little things that all kind of pile together to what makes a natural sounding book, right? Learn how to breathe appropriately. take 15 minutes a day to read something out loud. That in and of itself is the most quintessential and crucial piece of training that you can do for yourself as an audiobook narrator or as a narrator in general, because it gets you used to the sound of your voice. It gets you used to your breathing pattern. It gets you used to just getting comfortable being able to read the words that are in front of you that you may not be aware, that you don't know because you're reading something that you haven't read before. It gets you more comfortable with the mind-mouth connection. There's so many things. I could go on forever, but those are the important ones. Those are the big ones for me.
Okay, yeah. You kind of answered some of my question 3,
Okay.
uh, but we'll go with it still. Um, this is for anyone who wanted to get into narration. What advice or resources would you recommend them? And as you said, I know you talked about the breathing was very important. What other resources could they reach out to, or look up that are either free or on a budget for people? I know nowadays, yeah, sometimes you just need a good budget resource.
There are a lot of places to start. Most places, most coaches, most narrators, most other people that are well versed in the industry, that are well defined and well established in the industry, do usually coach. But those coaching sessions cost money. That's always going to be the hard part.
Yeah.
Some cost a little more, some cost a little less. There are places that I would absolutely check out regardless. So, D. Bradley Baker has a website. So you want to be a voice actor, or I want to be a voice actor. It is the number one place that anybody ever under the sun, if you're looking to be a voice actor in general, is to go start there. It is a giant. It is the Wikipedia for voice actors. It is the, okay, here's what you want to get into. Here's what you're trying to do. Here's the equipment that you should look at for as far as professional grade microphones to use that are budget friendly, that are middle ground, that are expensive, depending upon your ranks. One of our favorite voice actors that from Under the Sun, his most recent role is in the new Pokemon New Horizon series. And of course, I'm going to blank on his name until it comes to me, which is upsetting. Come on, man. Oh, well. He does the same on his website. Most voice actors, most established voice actors, all have some semblance of, you're looking to get started, go here. So whatever you're into watching, whatever you really, really enjoy doing, find those people, go to their websites, and start looking around. There's also the voice acting club Discord server. Please go there. There are people posting jobs for both pay and for non-pay, just to kind of get your feet wet. There's a bunch of different people that post, hey, a bunch of us that are kind of getting started, we host local and like group workouts for free. And a workout will be just bring your own copy, like find a script of something that you really enjoyed in the past, or find a character from animation in general that you like, bring it with you to class, or bring it with you to the workout. And then it's a peer workout. So it's a bunch of other people will listen to you and your performance, and they'll say, okay, cool. You did really, really well with this. This section, you kind of broke character, and here's how we would suggest you kind of get back into it. And here are some cool tips and tricks that we use to keep ourselves centered in the character in that moment. There is a plethora of free places to get started and to find stuff. And I cannot recommend enough. Earlier, you mentioned that you and your wife were going to conventions to promote the book. There are conventions happening all over the U.S. all the time. And not even just the U.S. Shirtaloon / Travis Deverell, the author of He Who Fights Monsters, was just talking about another one of those conventions happening out in Australia, where he's from. Us nerds have been slowly taking over the world for the past 10 to 15 years. Go to a convention, be it your local one, be it your state one, be it whatever it is. There are going to be like-minded individuals. There's usually my favorite one that I went to every now and then. Anime Central, held in Chicago in May, is a convention that happens every year. And more often than not, Crunchyroll, the largest anime producer in the U.S., hosts open and live auditions for anybody that wants to attempt to start voice acting. You show up at the convention, you wait in line, you get your number, you sign up. They call you up in order, and you get to audition live, not only in front of all the other people that are participating, but from the people that work at Crunchyroll, including people like Mami Okada, who is one of the best casting directors in the US for Crunchyroll. If you win the competition, which happens over 3 days, Crunchyroll will pull you in and let you be a character, or that was one of the prizes at one point. You'll get a spot to be flown. You fly out to California, go work in Crunchyroll Studio, and you get to record like a secondary character in an anime. And along with
That's
like
cool.
free classes. They're out there. Go look for them.
That's awesome. And I didn't know that, which makes it even cooler. Because it's something you can just throw your hat into the ring and attempt and just give feedback from, and that's really cool. Um, my last two questions are actually my book, Bone Runes themselves, because these are questions I was very curious about. And going in with the first one, I wanted to know who's your favorite and hardest character you had to voice in Bone Runes.
Luckily, that answer is the same for both questions. I have always
Cool.
I have always had a penchant and a natural inclination towards the intelligent characters. Because I'm a little jealous, if I'm going to be honest. I love the character that has the big brain that always finds a way to outsmart something in the end. I'm not dumb by any means, and I'm aware of that. But I've always been having friends that have always been smarter than me or learning from or whatever it is. I'm proud and jealous, right? That's just who I am as a person. I don't
Yeah.
mean it bad or
Yeah.
negatively. So to find those characters and to really enjoy watching them foil the big bad plot or find that niche bit of information that gives that next piece or helps the main character solve the problem, I've always enjoyed. Those are always my favorites. So in Bone Runes, I will do my best to spoil nothing for those of you that have not read the book yet. The main character's roommate, his name is Elias. He is the smart character. I
Yeah.
love Elias
Yeah.
so much. And the problem is that whenever Tyler and I had that phone call, we had a couple of phone calls after that initial meeting because I wanted to ask some questions about, okay, so character A is like this and character B is like that. How do you want this person to sound and where are they from? So I can get a regional accent that's kind of close to what you had in your head, kind of thing. And the notes that I got for Elias were a little nerdy, a little nasally, and higher pitched, which in some cases is a lot to go off of, in others it's not, depending upon the character and depending what's going on. The joy of that in an audiobook, especially as being a narrator, my voice is my voice. I can only go so high, so low, so broad, whatever it is, inflection, tone, cadence, all of it changes how a character comes out. So with Elias being Elias, he's kind of nerdy. Like he just has this thing where he lives in his nose. He doesn't mean to be, but he's also a 14-year-old kid. So I don't understand what the problem is. And he's really smart, and he's also kind of tired of certain people just not getting it at this point because we're here for a reason. We're at a wizard school. What do you got? Guys, come on. He's confident and he's wise beyond his years, but also a little too smart for his own good sometimes. So to find that fun middle ground of he's high pitched, which is a little harder for me to hit consistently. He lives frontally in my mouth and in my nose so that he hits that nasal quality to him. And of course, I don't want to be too stereotypical of, guys, I need to figure out. But at the same time, that's kind of where he fell, and it felt natural. And as I read the book second, third, fourth time and started going through and saying, okay, cool. Not only does that voice feel right for Elias as he has the conversations with the main character and he has the conversation with the other characters in the book and his friends, it didn't feel corny after a little while because it started to feel natural and it started to kind of settle in for everybody as they started talking to each other. And it started to feel alive. Elias started to feel right with that. But that one was one of the harder ones for me. I'll give a little spoiler that Eva and Silas were also very hard for me, and you'll understand why when you listen to the book. But they're all fun. I did my best to keep them as separate as possible and as distinct as possible, and I hope you feel the same way.
Yeah, no, yeah, man. Listening to you do the characters were wow, so much fun. I mean, it really like I. So I was at my day job when I was listening to them, and someone kept trying to talk to me. I was like, I can't talk, because it wasn't about work. They just wanted to talk, and I was like, man, I can't talk. I am doing two jobs at once. I am focused on this book, and I remember I was sitting there laughing at my, which makes me feel so dumb, but I was laughing at my own stuff because you delivered the lines so well and you hit those comedic points. And I remember sitting there in the middle of my job just going, this is hilarious. I didn't know I was this big of a genius. Like it was hyping me up, but in my head I was like, because I knew like reading it was one thing, but the way you hit the comedic points for me really just it made me smile. Like some of the jokes were a lot funnier to me than they were when I originally wrote them, because you hit them with the personality so well. Um, no, man, like I love hearing you do the voices still. Like I still get giddy from it.
So I gotta hit you with a little bomb, okay? I am
Okay.
gonna go off script for those of you watching this video later. I could not have wished for better, and we made the joke earlier at each other. Tyler and I did before we got on this video and started doing this recording. I just got the email, Tyler. Bone Runes is now officially up on Audible as of right now. The email just came through. So as of this moment, recording this video, the book is now officially available for sale on Audible. Please go give us a
Oh
check it out.
man.
I promise you there will be a link in the video on YouTube down below, of course, where you can go get the book, and we will get that figured out for you guys. But that could not have been timed better, and I could not be happier at that. Your answer, how you
That
feel about my
is
voices, and also now this being released at the time of recording, because there are just wonderful serendipitous points of life.
yes, that is. I had it pulled up off to the side, and as soon as you said something, I hit the refresh and I saw it. Oh my god, I'm gonna cry. Like, oh man, I it's the final. So again, we're going off script because of this bomb drop. Um, Bone Room Book Two, and I'm not gonna spoil the title yet. Um, Book Two is in the process of being made, uh, but it almost feels like my first child is finished, and I can start that second one knowing everything for book one. I can put it down. All I have to do is promote it now. But I don't have to worry about like, okay, how's this going? Where's this at? Is this going? It it's like an air of relief, and I feel like I can start the next chapter, um, which I'm very excited about. But we won't harp too much on this one. Maybe we'll do another video where we talk about book two in the future before it's fully released. Um, I will jump into the fifth question though
Okay,
for you, Zach.
let's go.
Um, and this is my favorite question. I waited for last.
Okay.
So when I was, and I'll give some backstory for it. When I was writing Bone Runes, um, I held on to one chapter the entire time. I listened to a song and I replayed this one chapter in my head the entire time to figure out where it go, how it's going, where it's going to go, how we're going to get to that point, and I would get goosebumps every time I read it or
Okay.
thought about it, and it drove me to write the whole book. It was my driving force. Which brings me to ask you, did you get excited while narrating? Like, was there any points when you're sitting there narrating that you're getting goosebumps, or you were just like, oh man, like you had to take a second because of the chapters? Um, and if so, without spoiling, what would it have been? Because I know you read the book, and you went through we went through the book together multiple times before the actual narration started. So by the time you started narrating it, I was curious if you'd already gone through all of the goosebumps or if it was a different high for you from it.
That's actually the perfect question because it lets me elaborate on two different points specifically. Yes, as a narrator and reading something, please don't just read a book off the cuff and record it and send it in like it's going to be good enough, because it's not. There was, to answer your earlier point, to make the making the jokes funny and to hit right. I can't tell you how many times I had to stop myself, re-record, because I would read it, and as I'm reading it would go, that delivery was awful. Do it again. One, two, three. Because guys, I'm sitting alone in a dark room by myself talking out loud. That's my job. I can't make that any more glamorous than it is. It's me looking like an insane person, making voices, reading out a book, and trying. And all of a sudden, I promise, Tyler and I have talked about this, and I think I can share it and not really be a spoiler. For book 2 especially, please look out for, at the very, very end of the book, there's going to be a couple minute blooper reel that I'm going to try to absolute best to record myself losing my mind as I'm, yeah, guys, let's go for the let's go for the thing, Zach. Really? That's how we're going to say that? No, how about we read the words that are on the page for, and like, as I just spiral into insanity. So there'll be a blooper reel because there are other audiobook narrators that I've had the pleasure of talking with, working under, learning from. Luke Daniels, for one. I had a lovely phone call with him probably 2 months ago. And I made mention of I love his blooper reels at the end of his books. He goes, "Yeah, I wish more people did that." I said, "Me too." So I'm going to be one of them. And it was one of those things, because they're funny and they're heartfelt and they're real. Because it doesn't get better than watching somebody who has decided to make the professionalism of his life and the vocation of his life be about speaking correctly, and then watching us lose it whenever we go to say, like, I did an audition the other day where I was like, "Yeah, so this hotel uses specific fragrances." That's what we're going to go with. Okay, great. Hotel uses a specific fragrance to keep and it's one of those moments of just so yes, and it's those moments in the book as I'm getting to that moment that I know is coming up, a big fight scene or a dramatic reveal or what's about to happen, we don't really know. I know, I've read it 6 times, I know it's coming. But it doesn't matter that I've read it 6 times, because it's still going to be something that is unique every time it comes up, especially as somebody who's getting to voice it. You'll go again and again and again. There are times where I've wasted 30 minutes trying to get a paragraph perfect. And that is something that I need to get better about, and learning to be comfortable with certain aspects instead of just hyper-focusing again and again and again. But we're human and we work forward. I like to fall forward, is how I like to say that. And there are so many moments. I can think of at least 6 different chapters off the top of my head that are the very beginning of the book, the very end of the book, and smatterings in between. There isn't a point where I'm not like, oh God, what? I'll get to the end of a chapter and be like, great, cool, I have another answer, but 7 new questions. Cool, neat. How do I get around that? No, whatever, not my problem. And I'll go again, and I'll go again, and I'll go again. And it's getting that energy, being excited or stressed or anxious or a little bit afraid of that chapter or of what's coming up in that chapter is actually the most ideal thing that me as a actor, as a narrator, could wish for, because that is that energy, that is that emotion, that is, for one, going to keep me in a job, because AI can't do it. I'll be the first to say that happily. AI will never be able to replace us, no matter how much people try. And that is what gives me that authenticity, that ability to make these characters come to life and have them each have their own reaction and perspective on what's happening, and to give life to that voice, to give life to that perspective, and to really make it feel like we're in the world with them. So yes, there are multiple points in the book that give me that energy, that feeling, that drive, that anxiety, that fear, that all the things that we're looking for at the time of what's happening in the book. All the time did I feel that. And it's that energy and that stuff that gave me the ability to read and perform the book the way that I did.
Okay, that's a good answer. I am really really happy that you felt that excitement throughout all of it. I felt throughout the entire book, the whole process of this has been exciting. Um, I wanted to touch on what you had said about Elias being your favorite character.
Please.
Um, I'm really glad you like him because I will anyone who watches this video who's a fan of the book, you will get to hear this first. Elias plays a huge role in book either 4 or 5, and you will get to see some. I'm getting goosebumps thinking about it. You will get to see some great scenes with Elias. And I will also say all of the characters play huge roles in the series. I This isn't a one hero situation. This is all of these people play a role because they're all just as important. Um, Type series, and that's why there's so many great, in my opinion, great characters, great casts that are kind of all different. I have learned that I want to make a character who, like I do, have a speech impediment, so that I can make Zach say "fueguents" and words like that in one long sentence.
Can't wait.
Uh,
Oh God.
no, I'm playing maybe if I have another character idea. I make no promises, but I don't make promises there will be a character like that. I just think it'd be funny to make Zach
I
have
invite
to
the
do all that.
challenge, and I look forward to doing the people proud of, so that anybody that does have a speech impediment, or anybody that doesn't feel like they are included, that I can do them justice and not be over the top and make it feel like it's natural for them, so that you all are seen. And that's my goal. That's my hope.
That would be the big thing with it. As I said, all these characters have different backstories. They're different people, and I try to make as many um, types of characters as I could to be in the main cast, so everyone felt like they've been seen. And book 2 is going to be just as filled with characters. Um, I'm really excited for that. You get to meet a lot of fun characters, and you start getting introduced to some new characters as they enter into the new year. And you get to see more of the school and the world. Just a little tidbit on book 2, because obviously I've been thinking a lot about it. Because it's book 1 was like my prologue. It was like the entrance to the world, and so now we get into the good stuff, and I'm really excited for the good stuff.
Awesome. So I've got
But
actually some questions
th-
for you, actually, if you got time.
yeah. Hit okay, yeah. Let's do it.
So from the as we've been going through this, and as we kind of talked a little bit beforehand, I know as a reader, there's always those moments where we desperately would love to get into the mind of the author, to really get
Hmm.
that bread and butter, that meat, that I want to know what's going on, and I want to take a deeper bite, and I can't, because, of course, I'm never going to meet Neil Gaiman running down the street. I'm never going to get to see Jim Butcher at whatever. Like, it is what it is, right? But then again, that's why we go to
Hmm.
conventions, in the hopes that we get to see our favorite authors and get to ask them at least a question. But I
Yeah.
have you here. I have an author in front of me with a book that I've read that I enjoyed, that I could say, hey, I've got some questions. And so I hope that this will also kind of be fun for your readers, and that I hopefully hit a question or two that they've been looking forward to hearing or wanting to ask themselves. Um, I'm going to try to stay away from the cliche questions. I don't want to say the ones that are asked for everybody. So instead, what I want to start off with, I've mentioned before that a lot of creatives, a lot of people, a lot of normal folk love the
Hmm.
idea of writing themselves. We all would love to write a book, at least in my opinion. I've been wanting to write a book for years and years and years, and I've never taken that step. I've never just done it, right?
Yeah.
What was that moment for you? What You've had the ideas forever. I'll even tease for the viewers. Tyler and I have talked. He's actually got a couple of books or ideas that he's been kind of puttering around with on Royal Road as well. So you can go see his writing outside of Bone Ruins, up for free on Royal Road. Go check it out. What
Yeah.
was the
Yeah.
moment
Under the
for
same
you?
name.
On the Thank you. Uh, what was that moment for you that finally clicked, and what was it that made you finally put fingers to keys to start getting Bone Runes and Thomas started?
Oh man, you're gonna make me cry with this question. Uh, so I I started writing when I was in fourth grade. I had an actual speech impediment. That's why I made the joke with the fragrance because I that's how I said fragrance for most of my life. So that I thought it was funny.
Okay.
I grew up with a speech impediment, and it was so bad that my brother would have to come translate for me in the earlier grades. And when I was in fourth grade, I started writing uh, Digimon. At the time, it was pretty much Digimon fan fiction about me and my buddy who was thrown into the digital world. And my teacher, my fourth grade teacher, I walked up to her, and I don't remember why I did this because I'm not outgoing like this, like I was. And I walked up to her and I said, "Hey, can I read this in front of the class?" And she read it. It was one page, and she said, "Yeah, sure." And every day or every week after that, I had a new page to read in front of the class for an entire year. And I wrote until I was in seventh grade, going in eighth grade. So I had all this background of just how much I loved writing, and I kind of lost it along the way. I stopped writing as much for like book wise. And I remember a year ago, I was just going through the ringer. I mean, I mental stuff, mental struggles, and I was sitting down one day, and I'd always told my wife about like, oh yeah, it'd be awesome to write a book. It'd be awesome to write a book. And I remember sitting down one day, and I went, what do I want to do with my life? Because I'm not happy. I was just not happy, and I finally went, I'm gonna write a book. And my wife had a big role to play in that because she gave me a timeline. She goes, "You have until this date to finish something." Um, because if you're, I, it was one of those things where I stopped streaming. I was doing game streaming. I was doing all these different activities, and I just gave up on all of it. And she was upset that I was giving up on my dreams, and she said, "Okay, this is the only thing you really do now. So this is your deadline. Get it done." And I took that and I was like, fine. And I pushed through and I did it. But it was I knew it was either I was gonna do that or I was never gonna do anything, and I would just be in this depressive mind state. And it drove me to write. There was a lot of obstacles, obviously, with the whole process because then you get imposter syndrome, and you get which is a real thing. Imposter syndrome is a
So
real
real.
thing.
Very, very
Yeah,
real.
and you get imposter syndrome, and then you get to the point where like I'm not good enough, my stuff's not long enough, my stories it's too much like this one or that one or it, you get all these voices, and you just gotta let them melt away, which is easier said than done.
Yes.
But even if you're crying while doing it because you don't feel good enough, but you want to get it done, like if it's your dream, then cry while you write if you have to. Like there's some days I'm just sitting there crying because I'm just in such a bad mindset. But I know that it's either this or nothing. And once you figure out it's either this or nothing, then nothing will stop you because you're gonna get it done. Um,
There is no better way to get something done than by taking in a list, getting started. It is always that first step. I know that it's been said 100 times. I know it's
yeah.
super cliche. The only way that you will ever write a book is by starting that first word. And it's going to
Yeah.
hurt. And there's going to be times where it's want to stop you. But as long as you push through, and God bless you for pushing through, because you did the thing.
Yeah.
You set forth, you met the
Oh, yeah.
deadline. And now here we are getting to talk about this awesome thing that you've done. And we cannot thank you enough as
I've
readers, as a narrator, as fans. Thank you for doing what you've done so that we could be here and enjoy this with you.
I appreciate it. It's honestly I've been happier than I've ever been.
Good.
finally following my dream. Yeah.
Good. Now, question number 2. This is the
Okay.
cliche one that I've got to ask because everybody wants to. Are your characters based off of people in your life, or are they characters that you've come up with on your own?
Oh, it's a good one. I would say all of my characters are a little bit of piece of me. You want to be careful when you don't want to self-insert yourself into a character. So you don't want a character that's just you, because you'll only ever see the flaws. You'll never see the greatness in that character. Because we always see our flaws before we see our greatness, which is something you also have to come to terms with. There is greatness in you, and you have to look past those flaws. But you don't want to just self insert yourself into a story. But it doesn't mean you don't want to take bits and pieces of your experience and what you've seen in life and how you see other people sometimes and put those in characters. I wouldn't say any of them are me, but they're all a piece of me. And you look at Elias. Elias is that character I wish I could be. Like we were talking about how you could be that like super intellectual character. It's like Elias is like that character. Like, oh man, it'd be really cool if I could be this type of character in real life. Um, you got Eva, um, who's Eva's a harder one to explain until you finish the series. Um, because Eva's quirky in her own way, and again, you have to read the book, but even book one doesn't show Eva to the fullest. But then you got characters like Silas, who's very quiet. He's to himself. I honestly don't think you see Silas talk a lot, except when he's just with Brody, um, which again he's very shy. You got Brody, who's like this jock, athletic, like yo, bro, what's going on? Um, and it's very stereotypical, like jock style, but he's kind hearted. And you got when I played football and I tried to be kind hearted, but I was like everyone's like, "What's up, man?" And so I took like that piece of me and I mixed it with what I saw other athletes do and act like. So I wouldn't say they're based on people, but more or less they're based on experience. Uh, if that makes sense.
No, it does. It's the human experience. It's that
Yeah.
idea and mindset that allows you as an author to set up the scenario and the ability for us as readers to connect with your characters. And because when we're reading a book, we're trying to connect with what we're reading. That's why we read what we read. It's why we
Yeah.
take the time out of our day to pick a book that we say, okay, cool, that sounds good to me. I want to get into that. And then by giving us that human connection, by giving us that ability to say, oh, I felt like this before. I know what that's like.
Mhm.
Watching Brody struggle with what he struggles with in the book, to not say anything, and watching him
Yeah.
grow and develop and get over it, or not get over it, but to slowly learn and to grow as a person is beautiful. And a lot of us have that moment of, I'm stuck and I don't know what to do about it. I can either stop and do nothing, like we discussed earlier,
Mhm.
or even if you have to cry to get it done, to take that
Yeah.
next step. And I think Brody is that aspect of you. And it's shown very, very well. It shows that personal growth and that ability to overcome obstacles despite what everything else is telling you. And it's a beautiful, beautiful thing.
Mhm.
So thank you for doing such a great job of making those characters real and attainable and
Yeah.
being able to connect.
Thank you. Yeah, yeah. It's actually funny. When my wife was reading it, so because there are pieces of me sprinkled throughout all of the characters, my wife was reading it, and I described a piece of clothing that Brody was wearing, and my wife went, "Don't you own that hoodie?" It was a cut hoodie. It was a short sleeved hoodie. I think it was black.
Oh,
And my
God.
wife goes, "Don't you own that hoodie?" I was like, "Yeah, I do." And it was like, "Don't you own that flannel that you're talking about with Thomas?" I was like, "Yeah, I do."
She walks into the closet and pulls it out and just points at it, be like, "This is the."
Yeah. No, yeah. I almost just used, I used my own road for some of them.
Yeah.
Uh, just stuff that I knew.
So, last question before we wrap this up.
Okay.
Out of all of your characters, who do you like the most and why?
Oh man. Hmm. All talking about all my characters having a piece of me in them, it's hard to tell you, really explain who I like the most. So I'm gonna throw you a curveball with this answer, because I'm gonna answer someone you probably don't expect. If I had to take a guess, my favorite character from book 1 to 6. This is everyone. 'Cause for anyone listening, Zach knows. Zach's seen a lot of my outlines and even all my other book ideas. Like Zach's seen behind the scenes stuff. Um, I have all 6 books outlined and ready to go. Some stuff I have to plug which character I think would fit to solve certain scenarios. Nothing's a given, but I have the flow of what I want. From book 1 to 6, my favorite character is Samuel. Uh,
Okay. Yeah. No. That I was not ready for that one. Well done. Okay.
so if you don't know, uh, Samuel's introduced in
Nope.
chapter 2.
I'm gonna cut you off. We're getting into spoiler territory. I think it's gonna be more fun for the readers to have
Hmm,
you drop that bomb and see the reactions that you just gave me, and we're just gonna let that die because now
okay,
they have to know because that's gonna be
okay,
incredible. I cannot
okay.
wait to see the reactions, the comments, the "How dare you cliffhang us like that? I can't believe that's going to be a thing." Let it be known, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, they, them, everybody else, please remember that Samuel is coming. I cannot wait for that. That's going to be absolutely fantastic. Um,
Yeah.
in that case, Tyler, I want to say again, as a narrator and as somebody who's getting to work with you and enjoy growing with you as a artist, as a narrator on this journey for these 6 books, thank you so much for choosing me and for liking the audition. Thank you so much for wanting to get together and do this, which I think is great. I cannot wait to do more of them. I absolutely think that we
Yeah.
should do more of these as the books come out, as we do different things. And for those at home and for those that are watching, be it short form media or the whole video here on YouTube,
Hmm.
I'm going to say this now. As the books progress and as we do different things, I'm going to make it my goal, and because Tyler and I have talked about this, that we're going to get together and we're going to be together at conventions. Don't know how book
That'd be
I don't
the
we don't know how
dream.
big this book is going to get. We don't know how big the series is going to get. Even if it's a small little guy, and even if it's at one small spot in whatever state it is, Tyler and I will be
Yeah.
together, sitting talking about these books and having fun and selling and getting to meet the fans and the audience. So please look out for that. We'll make sure that we let everybody know what's going on when it happens, and we decide when to get together. But for the
Yeah.
time being, please enjoy Bone Runes, Arcane Rebirth, Book 1, written by Tyler Pyle and narrated by Zach Pennington, when you get the chance. Uh, this will be us
It
signing
is
off, and we hope that.
officially. I was gonna say it is officially out as of filming this.
Cannot wait.
So
Everybody go
it's
enjoy.
gonna be great.
Check the link down below and go ahead and give it a listen, give it a preview, and let us know what you think. Have a good day, everybody.
Yes. Thank you guys so much. Bye.